Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. I hope you all are well. Welcome you all to His only Chandramauli Maharaj's daily call. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. Let me just start the recording as well. Thank you so much. We're so happy to see you today, Maharaj. Let me just start sharing my screen. Give me a second. I'm just going to close the extra tab so it doesn't take much space. Today's verse is Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter number 8 and verse number 26. I'll just increase the font so that it's easier for you to see. Over to you, Maharaj.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Name Savam Paranyanti Brahmana Sanarami Bibato Chuta Piyusam Tadvakyad Abdi Vinisritam. O learned Brahmana, because of my drinking the nectar of the message of the infallible personality of Godhead, which is flowing down from the ocean of your speeches, I do not feel any exhaustion due to my fasting. Purport. The disciplic succession of Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, and Sukadeva Goswami is particularly different from others. Can you hear me over there? Yes. The disciplic successions of other sages are simply a waste of time, being devoid of Achyuta Katha, or the message of the infallible Lord. The mental speculators can present their theories very nicely by reasons and arguments, but such reasons and arguments are not infallible, because they are defeated by better mental speculators. Maharaj Pariksha was not interested in dry speculation of the flickering mind, but he was interested in the topics of the Lord because factually he felt that he was hearing such nectaring message from the mouth of Sukadeva Goswami, and he was not feeling any exhaustion, even though he was fasting because of his imminent death. One can indulge in hearing the mental speculators, but such hearing cannot endure for any length of time. One will be exhausted very soon from hearing such hackneyed ways of thinking, and no one in the world can be satisfied simply by hearing such useless speculations. The message of the Lord, especially from the personality like Sukadeva Goswami, can never be tiring, even though one may be exhausted from other causes. In some editions of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the text of the last line in this verse reads, Anyatra Kupita Dvijat, which means that the king might be overwhelmed by the thought of the imminent death by snake bite. The snake is also twice born, and its anger is compared to the cursing Brahmin, who is without good intelligence. Maharaj Parikshit was not at all afraid of death, for he was fully encouraged by the message of the Lord, was fully absorbed in Achyuta Katha, and one can never be afraid of anything in this world. Om Gyantamidandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya Sitarine Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So knowledge comes from the supreme authority, or one who knows. Mental speculation is a type of acquiring knowledge simply through what is called empiricism. There are three forms of gaining knowledge. One is called prayaksha, the other one is called anumanta, and the third one is called sabda. Sabda means from the pure spiritual source. Prayaksha means empirical observation. You study something using your senses and mind and intelligence, and you make conclusions based on that. You study other people's conclusions based on the same subject. You add your own, and you take away something from what they say. And then you have what is called the latest theory. And then there's Anumantan, which is history. I try to understand things from historical perspective. Both of these have relevance in understanding material knowledge, but not spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge is a parusha. It's coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the disciplic succession into the hearts of the pure devotees who have realized it through the process of devotional service. So that knowledge is pure. We have many people, even today, who are academicians, scholars, people who write papers about philosophical and spiritual topics, and they get some kind of gradations about it, but they can't touch the essence of spiritual knowledge, nor can they even give clear understanding of what they say, because you can tear apart any one of their arguments because it's all based on the mind. And if you have a superior mind, you take what they say and just add something to it, and then you have something else. And so this type of knowledge is what it is. It's limited. It can't go to the level of transcendence. It can't understand what is called the ahaukshaja, that which is beyond the range of the senses. And spiritual knowledge is beyond the range of the senses. So, as Prabhupada said, the mental speculators can present their theories very nicely by reason and argument, but such reasons and arguments are not infallible. So why would you accept knowledge that is limited or fallible? Just like today, especially when it comes to people who study the cosmos, they give you some scientific theories based on their microscopes, telescopes, and their own observations. And they write papers, they submit to various types of institutions. But then that same knowledge is defeated, or what we say, thrown out after some time. Someone else comes up with something additional, something different. And this process goes on. So only a fool will accept something like that because it's imperfect. And if you want knowledge, you have to get it from the source of knowledge, and that is from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is called Adi Guru. Another name for Krishna is the original supreme spiritual teacher. And Teni Brahmahida Adikabaye, Brahma received that knowledge directly from Krishna in the heart after he performed austerities and became qualified to receive the knowledge. This is another qualification or requirement to receive knowledge. You have to be required to receive the knowledge. That means you have to have some understanding of what is being said. And you simply, if you have no understanding, then anybody can say anything and you can accept it. But Brahma, he was, he had performed austerities for 100 years, 100 celestial years. And then he was ready to receive that knowledge. And when he received the knowledge, everything became clear. And he wrote that knowledge in 100 treatises called the Brahma Samhita. We have only one chapter, which is the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita. The rest were lost in time. And then he imparted that knowledge to Narada, who gave it to Vyas. And Vyas's student is Sukadeva Goswami. Actually, Sukadeva Goswami didn't need the knowledge from Vyas. He was self-realized from the time of birth because he is actually an eternal associate of Krishna and Vrindavan. So all of this knowledge is important because without proper knowledge, there's no direction. Knowledge gives you a direction, an understanding, something to work with, and when you practice your activities. If you have misknowledge or wrong knowledge, then obviously you cannot achieve any kind of goal that is tangible. All you can do is continue to speculate. There's philosophers who say today, we have knowledge for the sake of knowledge, which is ridiculous, just to have knowledge for the sake of knowledge. I know something, but what is its relevant in your life? No, nothing, but it's just knowledge. And people study everything, right? And then they don't know what to do with it, and they just collect it. I remember I went to one university to give a class in one professor's class, and he invited me into his office. When I went to his office, you see that balcony right here? He had books that high in his office, stacked up. I mean, literally, all around the room, except for the doorway, all around the room. And I didn't ask him, did you read it all? But it was obviously he didn't. It would take him, but it looks good. But this is called Maya Aprajita Gyan. Krishna explains that in the Bhagavad Gita, that knowledge is stolen by illusion because they have false knowledge or limited knowledge, or that knowledge that can't really get them out of the suffering of material energy. Because if knowledge doesn't bring you free from suffering, what is the use of that knowledge? But transcendental knowledge or philosophical spiritual knowledge can awaken one's awareness of one's position within the material world and helps to extricate one in the activities of material life and brings one to the spiritual platform. Therefore, it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter that knowledge is like a sword. It cuts through illusion. Illusion also is a form of knowledge, but it's not real knowledge. Just like people think I'm this body, that's not true. If people base their activities on the body, that means they're living in a false realm of existence. Because the body is not you. It's like saying, well, I have a car and the car is me. So when I change the oil, I'm changing something that's in me. When I tune it up. So we know the car is not the person. We drive the car. The car has a use. The body has a use also. And there's knowledge about the body, how to keep the body running. But it's not you. If you think the body is you, then you base all of your activities on what happens with the body and the mind. But devotees know that the body is just part of one's existence in the material world, but there's something different from that body. and they connect everything. They connect the knowledge they need to Krishna or through the spiritual realm by following the process, which makes one aware that I'm not this body. So this dry mental speculation is useless. And even devotees like to read all of these stupid books that people put out because it titillates the mind. It gives some kind of what we say. Uh, yeah, I guess the word is titillization. Just like when your hand gets numb, and then when you relieve it, the numbness, then you can feel there's some titillation and there's some feeling of you're regaining your feeling again. So it's no better than that. It's mental speculation. And the books, the libraries are full of all of this useless knowledge. And Prabhupada said it's one of the greatest sinful activities in the world. They're cutting down trees and printing all of this, what we say, sex literature or whatever, or literature about everything in the world except that knowledge which is helpful to extricate one from the suffering of material world. Although they try, they're never successful because they don't know where to find knowledge. Therefore, knowledge is what is called avaropanta. There's aropanta and avaropanta. Avaropanta means that knowledge which goes up, and avaropanta means knowledge that comes down. So philosophical, empirical, historical knowledge is knowledge that is coming from the bottom. You start with something and then you add to it. But spiritual knowledge is coming from the source. And therefore, all you have to do is learn the process of hearing and understanding through hearing, and then clarifying your hearing. And then the knowledge becomes more and more understandable. And what do you use that knowledge? We don't have knowledge simply to have, we have the Srimad Bhagavatam set in our house, but it's still got the plastic cases on it because we don't read it. It looks good, it makes the house look pretty, and sometimes we dust it. We're supposed to read it and try to understand it by reading it, and then applying it. The process is like this: you read, and you read to understand, and then when you get some understanding, then you apply it to your activities in life, and then through your application, you get realization of the knowledge, and based on that realization, you get two things: you get transcendental qualities which manifest within your character, and you get skills and abilities, which are all transcendental. So this is 5 stages of knowledge, starting with the process of reading or hearing. Hearing, reading is the same. Hearing is the basis of how knowledge was transmitted before we had books. People were so sharp in intelligence that when they would hear, they would remember. They never forgot. Prabhupada tells one story about 2 men were arguing on the bank of a ghat, and they had a fight. And there was a Brahmin there. He was bathing, and he was just doing his bathing. So the fight wound up in court, and the men were still fighting. And the judge said, "Do you have any witnesses?" And then they remembered there was one Brahmin who was bathing on by the ghat. So they called him. They found him, and they called him. They said, the judge asked him, "What did you hear?" He said, "I don't know what they were talking about, but this is what I heard." He remembered everything they heard. So the Brahmins were so sharp in mind that they could retain anything. Nowadays, we have to write it down, and we even forget to write it down. Prabhupada said, remember means to remember to write it down. So because Kali Yuga is, Manda Sumanda Mateo, Manda Bhagyu Padritaha, our minds are, so much overwhelmed with material sound vibrations, we can't really uh, connect with the spiritual sound vibration. Therefore, we have to push out the material sound vibrations by bringing in the spiritual sound vibrations. And transcendental knowledge is transmitted through sound. The process is hearing. The Vedas is called, well, the Vedas are called Shruti. It's another name for Veda. I mean, Shruti means to hear. And the essence of the Vedas is the Upanishads. Upanishads is 108 Upanishads. There's 12 main Upanishads. And by the Upanishads are the Shrutis. There are Shrutis, Smritis, and Puranas. Shruti, Srishti, Paranadi, Pancharatriki, Vidi, Vidam. That makes up all knowledge. So Shrutis are the actual Vedas. Smritis are the commentaries on the Shrutis, or books written about the Shrutis. The Puranas are support evidences that support both the Shrutis and the Smritis. And the Pancharatrikis is the knowledge of deity worship. And unless you get knowledge from these sources, your knowledge is what we say, you know, faulty, or what we say, incomplete. So, Upanishad, when you take the word and you break it down, Upanishad means to sit down near. Sit down near what? Your wife, your husband, your computer? No, sit down near Guru and hear. Hear. And when you hear, then you can start to, if you listen carefully, and that is called what we call listening with the desire to understand what is being said. That's active listening. There's the other listening in one ear and out the other. Oh, what'd you say? We can't even remember what we said. So, yeah, active listening means to hear with the desire to understand what's being said. That's active listening. And then that knowledge actually becomes part of you. When knowledge becomes part of you, you develop certain characteristics based on that knowledge. And these are spiritual characteristics because this knowledge is, is pure spiritual essence. It's not coming from any material source. Sometimes people say, well, you're getting it written from very from sages, from saints, from great souls. Yes, but where are they getting that knowledge? From God, or they're getting the knowledge based on their pure devotion to God, and the application of philosophical knowledge turns into what is called realized knowledge. There is two things, gyan and vigyan. Gyan means knowledge, and vigyan means vigata, or vishesha gyan means that knowledge which is realized. So in Krishna consciousness, you have to come to realize knowledge. So we start with philosophical knowledge, and then we apply it. If we don't apply it, that's what it's meant for, then it will only stay theoretical. And then it doesn't become part of your character. When you apply it, then it does. You learn how to apply it, and that's the process of hearing from the spiritual master and getting understanding and learning how to apply it through the process of service, like that. So that knowledge is solid. And then when you have that knowledge, you can say it's like this. And then there's no doubt because you are backed up by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, which is the authority for all knowledge. Because Krishna is the source of all knowledge, and he imparts that knowledge from Brahma, and Brahma gives it like that. And the knowledge is pure. Now you have Sukadev Goswami. He's giving this knowledge to Maharaj Parikshit based on the questions of Maharaj Parikshit. This particular chapter is really interesting. It's only questions. It's only questions. He's asking question after question after question. That's the verses. And then the next chapter and the following chapter, which are the last two chapters in the canto, he answers all of the questions. He's not writing down the questions. Sukadeva Goswami doesn't have his Mac computer. He's hearing the questions and he's remembering every question that Maharaj Pariksit is asking. And he'll take it in the same order he received it. And then when he speaks it, the word sukha means parrot. And when a parrot beak touches a fruit, the fruit becomes sweeter. So he takes that knowledge and brings it to another level of understanding, a higher level, or more, or even a he brings in other angles of vision that where that knowledge is also can be seen. Because transcendental knowledge is not limited to one understanding. You can see the same knowledge from different angles of vision, and it's still the same knowledge. That's why sometimes you see even great souls, they differ about philosophical knowledge, and they're both right because they're seeing the same thing from different angles. That's all. But material knowledge is limited, and you can exhaust material knowledge, and then you get to the point where there's nothing else you can add to it unless you somehow, create your own ideas. And that's what they do. So, therefore, this verse and purport is very, very important because even devotees fall into wanting to hear from other sources. Hear from the pure sources, and you'll get the pure knowledge, and you'll get pure consciousness, and you'll get clear understanding how to execute devotional service. Along with that, you'll get to know Krishna. Because knowledge, transcendental knowledge, is also about Krishna. That's the highest form of transcendental knowledge. What is Krishna? What is he? What is his activities? Why does he perform his activities in the way he does? Think about that. We just sometimes we hear about Krishna, and we're hearing the activity, but then why is he doing it in the way he does it? And how is he doing it in the way he does it? That's all part of going deeper into the nature of Krishna, because Krishna is a personality and he's very complex. We also can become complex on a material level. And even in a spiritual level, we can also. But Krishna is very complex. That's why he can relate to so many different situations in different ways, and they're all correct. Because Krishna's intelligence is the source of all existence, all knowledge. So that's a feature of transcendental knowledge, is to know about Krishna. And that knowledge of Krishna will awaken your attraction for Krishna automatically. You don't even have to think about it because Krishna is all attractive. And the more you know about Krishna, the more you get attracted. And attraction turns into attachment, and attachment turns into bhava, which is affection, and then ultimately one reaches the love of God. So the essence is to hear transcendental knowledge from the right source about the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Satam Prasangam Mama Virya Samvido Bhavanti Ritkarna Rasayana Kata. Rasayana means what? Hmm? Hmm? What is Rasayana? Who knows the word? What is it? Rasayana? Rasayana. Rasayana Kata. What is the nature of that Kata that is Rasayana? Hmm? Full of rasas, yeah, sweetness, mellows, yeah. Or you might say nectar, like that. So Rasayana Kata. And what is it? Rasayana Rit Karna. Rit means heart. Karna refers to ear. So it becomes nectar to the ear and to the heart. And when one gets fixed in hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then their life becomes so happy. They just want to hear more about Krishna. And then when they hear more, they start speaking about Krishna. And then when they start speaking about Krishna, they start remembering Krishna more and more, and that's bhakti. Because the idea is to remember through the process of Shravanam and Kirtanam. So we have we have no limit, and I use that word with emphasis, of the knowledge available about bhakti, about everything that is not bhakti, and also about Krishna. Everything. So Prabhupada said, you have enough knowledge for hundreds of lifetimes. You can't exhaust it. And it's just nectar. But now everybody wants to be IT expert, you know, because it brings in the money. But being a what we call an expert in Krishna consciousness brings in the honey. So I think honey is better than money because you can't eat money. And honey is always sweet, no matter what kind of honey it is. So yeah, we want that nectar that is sweet, which is about Krishna. It's so much. Srila Prabhupada was on a morning walk one time, and he was talking to one professor from Germany, Professor Durkheim. And Prabhupada was talking about Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he said, well, there's 18,000 verses in the Bhagavatam. And then he went on to say, and it takes 1 month to understand each verse. 1 month. And so then he turned to his devotees, said, how long is that? Some devotee was real fast. He said, well, that's 1,500 years, Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, you have enough to read. Simply Bhagavatam alone can consume your life and give you everything. And Prabhupada also has said, all knowledge is in Bhagavatam. Everything is in Bhagavatam. If you read it carefully and hear the commentaries by those acharyas, you can understand that Bhagavatam is unlimited. You don't need any other scripture. Bhagavatam is enough. You know? And then Prabhupada went on to say that his spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, spoke on the first verse, Janma Yasya Yataha, in Bhagavatam for 3 months, the same verse, without covering the same points each day. So Bhagavatam is unlimited. And if you hear from those who have knowledge and who are fixed in devotional service, you gain so much. Just like recently, you had one very great scholar here. What's his name? Hari Prasad. The guy's a genius. He knows the scriptures really well and deep, and he can talk on any subject from different angles of vision. And that's just one person. But this knowledge is just, you know. So why waste time reading, technical books? I can start my computer and I know how to shut it. That's all I care. And if I have to find something, I ask somebody else to help me. Oh, we don't need so much practical knowledge in life because practical knowledge will come automatically. Okay, so yeah, so the essence, I'm going to sum up the verse here, is that this knowledge comes from other sources other than the proper sources or the authoritative sources, is simply a person's mind rummaging over or reminiscing over or ruminating over different philosophical things through observation, speculation, and they come up with some conclusion, and then the conclusion is torn apart by somebody else who follows them. So we don't say they're philosophers, we say they are philosophers. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you so much, Maharaj. You've covered so much information about the knowledge in this particular class. You mentioned about the Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, and Pancharatrika. You mentioned about the Pratyaksha Anuman and Anumantha, and also Upanishads. Devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realizations, please unmute yourself and ask. It'll be nice to have your cameras on if you can. Thank you. And if you can't speak, then please type in the chat and I'll read it for you.
We'll be taking questions from the local
Okay.
community here too, because we have about about 15 devotees here. So
Hari Hari. Okay. That's
so but let's start. Let's see who's online if anyone has a question. If not, we can turn to the group here. Any of you have questions? Yeah, so we have one devotee. His name is Divya Tirtha, and he's going to ask a question.
oh,
I'll repeat the question for everyone.
Manas, thank you so much for elaborately explaining about this beautiful word, especially when you mentioned about the whole chapter is designed with all questions. In the beginning, I had this question, and you covered some aspect of it. I just want to clarify. So when you mentioned about when Krishna gave the knowledge to Brahmaji from the heart, he was with tapasya,
Yeah.
and then he became a patra, he became the
Who's
recipient to receive that knowledge. And at the same time, in the translation, Parikshit Maharaj says, I do not feel any sort of exhaustion due to my fasting,
mm-hmm.
due to my fasting. And you also covered aspect in Kali Yuga, people are so dull-headed. I'm thinking about myself, we can't remember. You quoted the Brahmanas example who remembered everything, even those people were talking something different here. What should be, what one should, uh, what one should do to assimilate this knowledge, which is in such a higher platform, because one of the points that you mentioned is yesterday you mentioned the knowledge is like the light, like the sun. And today you mentioned another aspect of the knowledge is giving direction. So there is so much chaos, there is so much confusion, which direction should I go? Even in scripture, though the Samambolam is crystal clear in Bhakti, but there are so many aspects covered. So how can one have the ability to assimilate and also assimilate what is needed to actually get out of the cycle of birth?
And we have the example here. Did you hear the question? He's asking there is so much knowledge available. How do we understand how to assimilate it and how to apply it? That's in the essence of it. And sometimes we get confused and not knowing which direction to go in. So we see this example here. Maharaj Parikshit is asking the questions. He has some basic knowledge, but he doesn't assume that he knows. Therefore, he's going to the authority. He's going to Sukadev Goswami, who is the authority, and he wants to hear from him. So we may read something or we may hear something, and if it's clear, and then there's no need to further inquire. Then we can apply it. But if it gets causes confusion or some doubt, then or we need clarification, then we should go to an authority and say, "This is what I hear, and this is what I heard from this person. Can you give me further understanding and how I can use it in my own spiritual practice?" So the authorities are there. That's why we have the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We have the Association of Devotees on different levels. We can always find someone to add, to clarify if our spiritual master is not available. In some cases, the spiritual master has left the planet. Then we can go to someone who is equally qualified, like our spiritual master, and get the answer. Because there's one thing that devotees like to do, they like to help others by giving philosophical and spiritual knowledge. So that's what we do. Bodhiantas parasparam katyantas chimam nityam tusyanti cha vimanti cha. We like to discuss this philosophy. We like to understand it from different angles of vision, and we like to be able to use it in our practical execution of devotional service. So when you get stuck, ask. But the mind will tell you can figure it out. And that's the problem. If you can figure it out and it's clear, and then the results come by application, then that's fine. But if not, then we ask. We present the question to the proper authority. Right, Satyabhama? That's what you always do.
No,
You do. You always ask questions.
not as good as Sridevi Mataji. She's perfect. She has good questions.
Anyone else online?
So I've got a question, Maharaj. You mentioned about the Shruti, Smriti, and Puranas, and I always find it difficult to understand the difference between them and how Srimad Bhagavatam is related to this. How Srimad Bhagavatam is essence of all the Vedantas. So maybe if
Well,
you can.
Srimad Bhagavatam is Amalam Purana. There are Puranas for people in the mode of ignorance. There are Puranas for people in the mode of passion. There are Puranas for people in the mode of goodness, to raise them from one level to another. Not everyone can take to pure devotional service. So the Vedas give different levels of teaching to move persons from one level to another.
Mm.
So, but Bhagavatam is Amalam Puranam, pure Purana. It's above the three modes of material nature because it deals only with the name, fame, form, qualities, activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his many incarnations, and the process of pure devotional service also.
Mm.
So Bhagavatam gets to the essence.
Mm.
There's no artha, kama, dhamma, and moksha in Bhagavatam, which are called the activities of the conditioned souls in the material world. People mistakenly think that if I perform good activities in the mode of goodness, that is perfection in life. I'm kind, I give in charity, I go out of my way to make help institutions, to also do work and charitable work. I don't lie, I don't cheat. They think by living a very clean and what we say mode of goodness life, they have reached success, but not. It's not because they don't. The success means devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Mm.
That's success. So Bhagavatam is focused on that only. Therefore, the second verse it says, "Dharma projito kaitavo." Dharma projito kaito nirmaksaratsam satam. Dharma it kicks out projito. Projito means to kicks out. What is that? Kaitava. Kaitava means to cheat. So Bhagavatam kicks out all forms of cheating religion that mixes in these different things, which is artha, karma, dhamma, and even moksha.
Mm.
But you need the commentaries from the acharyas. You can't just read Bhagavatam and expect to understand. Because you may also come up with an impersonal conclusion simply by reading. Even if you're philosophically adept, unless you hear from the pure devotees. That's why Bhagavatam, just like we have the example, Maharaj Parikshit, he's a pure devotee, but he's hearing from a more elevated pure devotee.
Mm.
although he knows Bhagavatam, at least to a certain degree. Otherwise, how would he be able to ask these questions that he's asking? But still, he understands there are more clarified and higher forms of the same knowledge, and he wants the complete knowledge, not just partial knowledge.
Mm.
So one of the ways, and that goes back to your question, is to hear with rapt attention. That attention that is not deviated while one is listening. Because the mind goes, the chanchala himana Krishna, the mind is wandering. It goes this way, that way, this way, that way. So we have to practice the process of hearing. It's like even when you are teaching, you have to know your subject. When you're hearing, you also have to know the art of hearing. So you can absorb what is being said. And that's active. We talked about that, active listening. Mhm.
Thank you,
So
Maharaj. It's very
then the
nice.
knowledge becomes more easily assimilated. And repetition also brings realization.
Repetition of hearing, Maharaj, or
Repetition of the same subject matter,
uh,
hearing the same thing over and over again, will give you more clearer and more deeper understanding of the same thing.
mm,
Especially when you don't, when the language is a little hard to understand.
mm,
Example was when Srila Prabhupada was here, the devotees had come across the Brahma Samhita with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's purports. You've seen that? Very, what we say, university English, highfalutin English, you know. You might say, even the ordinary word, the transcendental autocrat, what does it say? How is it? The the sentient being cannot reach to the transcendental autocrat. The transcendental autocrat is Krishna. So he uses words like that, very high English. So devotees were trying to understand Bhakti Siddhanta's purports in Brahma Samhita, and they couldn't. So they asked Prabhupada, can you write a commentary? Prabhupada said, no. So you just read it over and over and over. If you read it over and over again, it'll become more and more clear each time. Because it forces you to, think about it when you read it over and over. When you think about something, you're activating your intelligence. And when the intelligence comes in, things become more clearer. We have good intelligence, we just don't use it. We use it in the wrong way. Okay, Shiv Kumarji.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, send out prompts. Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So Maharaj, on the application of knowledge, one question, Maharaj. As we, our experience is that we find it lot helpful to read and understand Bhagavatam in association of devotees. But when it comes to application of knowledge, Maharaj, I just wanted to understand how can we approach if some devotees are interested in coming together and discussing the application, knowing that everyone's nature, conditioning, situations are different, Maharaj. How can we approach it? The application of knowledge in association of devotees. Just wanted to hear some advice from you.
Well, you can learn from others who have the experience, or you can inquire from the spiritual master. Application sometimes definitely requires some type of outside source to give you a direction, some authority like that. How does it apply in this situation? Because the situation may dictate that the same knowledge may be applied in different situations differently. Mhm. Yeah, this knowledge is broad and application is more like streamlined.
Mm.
So yeah, and usually we take, because if we simply use what we say sensual observation, we could also make mistakes. Example, there was one veterinarian, he was training his disciple on how to, you know, administer medicines to animals. So uh, one horse came in and he had a big lump in his throat. So the veterinarian took a rubber hammer and started smashing the lump in the horse's throat. And the lump broke up and the horse was free from the lump and he was fine. So his student was watching that. So now the student's on his own. A horse comes in with a big lump in his throat. And so he takes the hammer and starts smashing, and the horse is going wild and screaming. And then his guru found out. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I did the same thing you did." He said, "You fool. That horse that I did had a watermelon stuck in his throat. I was breaking it up so he could swallow it." So he thought every lump is the same, you know. He didn't use the practical understanding of that. All, you know, all Tao is the same, right? Doesn't matter. No, you have to understand specifically what you're doing and how the knowledge you need to do what you're doing. How is it going to apply? Combination of philosophical and practical, both.
Mm.
For instance, deity worship requires very precise understanding of the execution of the knowledge. Because if you apply the knowledge in the wrong way, you could also commit offenses. That's very specific when it comes to deity worship. That's an example. But there's those who are, they can think about the knowledge and they can see how to apply it in different situations. And that's a person who is, you know, Trikala Gyan, can see past, present, and future. So yeah, learn the art of application also. If you can learn it through your own experiences by hearing, then you can apply it, at least up to a certain point. But if you have any doubts and if the results don't come out accordingly, then you definitely should get some advice.
Mm. Thank you so much.
Our society is geared for sadhu sangha, so we can get association with devotees and learn.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we have a question on the local level here. This is
Okay.
our Pavni. She's going to ask a question. Pavani is only 12 years old, right? She's 11. We always say that I'm 11 going on 12, right? Because we like the bigger numbers, right? When you get old, you like the smaller numbers. When you're young, you want the bigger numbers. Okay, Pavani. She's 11. So she's saying there's some people don't believe in God in scriptures, but sometimes they hear from outside sources about things that are not actually true because they just hear from anybody. And then they repeat it, right? yeah, they hear from someone else and they think, well, it sounds good, therefore it must be right. When we try to explain to them that what they're hearing is wrong and we give them the authority, the thing is, uh, Shruti Shruti Puranadi Pancharatriki Vidam, all knowledge is coming from these sources, and any knowledge outside is simply mental speculation. So we take knowledge as coming from the authority, but they won't accept authoritative knowledge because they want to be, what we say, you know, they think that they can understand things. But then you can also use examples to show them that the knowledge that they have is limited. For instance, uh, you might say, "What's behind this wall here?" Well, they say, "I don't know because I can't see." Right. So, can you understand the knowledge you're talking about? You just heard it from somebody and you're just repeating it. You have no experience of it. So you don't know you have no experience what's up beyond this wall. So you say, I don't know. It's the same thing. So knowledge without any authority is simply guesswork. That's all. Or we could to give it some nice level of mental speculation. But the mind will speculate on everything. A mind will see something and then will give us some understanding, and someone else will see the same thing and their mind will give a different understanding. Now we have this picture of a lady, and when you look at it from one angle of vision, it's a beautiful young lady, and when you look at it from another angle, it's an old lady. Same picture. Two people are seeing the same thing. So we ask them, "What do you see?" And people will give different, answers. So seeing is limited, or what we say, faulty. Am I? I'm seeing you, but I'm not seeing you. I'm seeing your body, and I can't see you because I don't have that vision. Yeah. So when you run into people who just want to say something because they heard it from someone else, and if they don't accept your answer, don't waste time. Let them stay in ignorance. That's what they want. What can you do? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Any other questions from Satyabama's group there?
Yes, there is a question in the chat. I'm sorry, I had to keep my cameras on because I was keep disconnecting from your voice, Maharaj. There is a question from Nursing Leela Mataji. She's saying, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Shila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, you spoke about material knowledge. If I remember correctly, Dhenuka Sura represent the accumulation of material knowledge.
Right.
I heard it from you. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I spent some time researching material knowledge related to mental and physical health. I find it useful in my personal life and in the life of others I come in contact with.
No,
So, is it wrong to use my time for that, or does it just need to be regulated?
it should be regulated, but that material knowledge is health is about material knowledge. Unless you get Ayurvedic knowledge, then that's more transcendental or more it's coming from a spiritual source. So yeah, but how much time do you want to spend on the external knowledge that is available in different subject matters? You waste your time. Get some basic knowledge, which you need, knowledge of health, knowledge how to, you know, if you have a car, you have maybe one knowledge on how to fix the car. You want knowledge of how to cultivate an agricultural field. So these knowledges are available. Someone came to Prabhupada with a question about practical knowledge. Prabhupada said, why don't you ask a person who knows? Go to an authority of that subject matter. So yeah, but your question is how much time should you spend on it? What is enough to get what you need, and that's all. But you also see when you engage in devotional service, especially with health, if you stay fixed in your devotional service, even if your health is not up to par, it'll also help you regain your health because devotional service that covers all aspects of existence. When you chant, you actually feel better. Inechi asari maya, nasi lagi, harinama mahamantra lautumi magi. Inechi asaudi, it's the medicine. So it's also medicine on the physical level too. But you might need a doctor for some prescriptions or something like that. We do that. But don't, there are people who are hypochondriacs who like to spend all day just thinking about health and doing health preventative programs, health curative programs. Their whole subject matter centers around that. No, but they're missing out about spiritual health. What about your spiritual health? You're going to keep cleaning the outside of the cage and the bird's going to die.
Thank you, Maharaj. I hope that answers your question, Mataji. Yeah, she's happy.
Regulate it. Yeah. You answered the question. Just regulate it.
Yeah. She's saying most probably I'm overdoing it.
Yeah, that's natural. But try not to. We have a question on the floor here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Also superficially read, but we don't actually value the Srimad Bhagavatam or Harikam. So because of the familiarity, because it's maybe happening and we maybe we need to read clearly. You also mentioned one point about attention. That other than the attention, the familiarity to the how working and trying to understand how we can get out of the familiarity of this. Because it's a lot different from Krishna.
This familiarity of Bhagavatam causes one to see it in an ordinary way. Is that's basically what you're saying? We're not seeing it for the way it should be seen. Well, you have to hear what is Bhagavatam. Not only read it, but what is it? It's Bhagavatam is Krishna in transcendental sound vibration. The different cantos of Bhagavatam align with the different parts of Krishna's transcendental body. It's non-different than Krishna. When Krishna left the planet, he left himself in the form of Bhagavatam. That's mentioned in the Bhagavatam. So we'll hear about the glorifications of Bhagavatam along with hearing about Bhagavatam. Now, we're on the second canto of Bhagavatam. And then the 10th chapter of this, we're in the 8th chapter right now. The 10th chapter is Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. So in that particular chapter, it's all about the glories of Bhagavatam. not only what Bhagavatam does, but what Bhagavatam is. So that's also part of the knowledge of Bhagavatam. Because if you don't know its position, you'll minimize it, or you may see that the knowledge is just comparatively maybe a little better than other knowledge. So you start comparing. So yeah, understand what Bhagavatam is. If you just read the first 3 verses in Bhagavatam and the purports, you'll get a complete understanding. Just those first 3 verses. Yeah. Okay, so we stop here, Satyabhama?
Yes, Maharaj, we can stop here.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, association. And it was nice hearing questions from the group. It would be nice to see the group. There is a question from Aarti Mataji. Aarti Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Dandat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to you. Maharaj, I have a question that is very personal, not related to Bhagavatam. I am in a stage where I'm very confused.
Why don't you come and see me? You can ask me that in person.
Today, Maharaj?
Well, maybe a little later on today or tomorrow.
It's not very personal, Maharaj. I can ask now because I really want to decide now.
Okay, go ahead.
Maharaj, actually today I wanted to come to your program in Canton, and the same time this is the program nearby your house of His Holiness Anant Swami Goswami. So the problem is, Maharaj, he's going to give the class in Bhojpuri, the native language of my Prabhu. So my Prabhu is not very connected.
Yeah, go ahead and go to his class. That's fine.
But Maharaj, I wanted to come to your class, and my Prabhu.
You can hear from me all weekend. Yeah, I'll be here.
Okay, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, I'm going to be here tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You'll get tired of hearing from me.
No, Guru Maharaj, I will never be tired of hearing. I'm so eager to come there, but my Prabhu is not very connected. So I wanted him to connect with the language of his native language.
You already answered the question. Go ahead and go.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for clearing this. I was feeling so guilt.
No, you're not guilty. You just wanted me to tell you what to do. That's all.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for your mercy.
Jai.
Arti.
Hari Hari.
Okay, Arti. And let me know what he says too. I would like to understand too.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. So we're going to stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavatam ki jai. Nande Hari Hari.
Hari Bo.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Satyabhama, you're getting better.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Hare
Bless me,
Krishna.
I'm going India today, Guru Maharaj. Puri, Mayapur and Vrindavan, please. Please bless me.
Hari.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you so much, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.